This video was brought to you by Smart DNS Proxy. In December of 2019, CD Projekt Red announced that they'd be collaborating with A$AP Rocky, Grimes, Refused, and a number of other talented artists within their then upcoming title, Cyberpunk 2077. Most interestingly to me though, was the inclusion of Run the Jewels. The hip-hop duo, combining the lyrical excellence of Atlanta-born Killer Mike and the mixing talents of Brooklyn's finest LP, had never shied away from a futuristic synth-heavy sound, one that I thought would fit perfectly within the world of Cyberpunk 2077. And that's not to say their contribution doesn't, but the final product ended up sounding a little different than what I expected. At the time, we weren't sure in what capacity each artist would be working as, other than they'd be creating original tracks for the game. Would it just be one track per artist? Would they be producing together or individually? I wasn't exactly sure what to expect, but I remained optimistic that Run the Jewels 4 would be fast-tracked by Cyberpunk. In May of 2020, Run the Jewels announced their fourth album, RTJ4, along with cover art and the track list, with a release to only be a month later. With the album art and colour scheme matching the aesthetic of the cyberpunk genre, and subsequently the then much anticipated game, I naturally assumed the best case scenario, that this album would be utilised within 2077. After my first listen of the album, I thought RTJ4 was a bit of a step away from the more futuristic sound that I'm used to within their other albums. Certainly less what I expected for something tied to a cyberpunk project, although we later find out that this album was purely that, a Run the Jewels album with no official ties to Cyberpunk 2077. But it's certainly an important step into understanding the transition into something like No Save Point, the track that Run the Jewels released for the Cyberpunk game. Something I noticed immediately in RTJ4, outside of the slightly more industrial sound, was a continuous contribution to the real-world cyberpunk discourse, the argument that we're already on our way towards a proto-cyberpunk dystopian society. And sure, Run the Jewels, especially Killer Mike, are no strangers to tapping into speaking their mind about the political landscape and how certain aspects of capitalistic society could be improved. But in RTJ4, the discussion felt a lot more direct towards the listener, enforcing their points with, perhaps coincidentally, topical yet poignant allegory and of course explicit reference to horrible real-world events, from police brutality and corporate greed to drone surveillance and modern segregation. On its own, RTJ4 and by extension the 2077 single No Save Point feel like very raw Run the Jewels. Their style, their lyrics, it's all on brand, with even the occasional reference to older tracks. But listening through their entire discography, I felt a real transition in their music, one that I'd compare to the journey of cyberpunk as a genre. Looking back upon the duo's earlier collaborations, even in Killer Mike's album Rap Music, and especially in the first Run the Jewels album, their sound was a lot softer. Not saying this is a bad thing, but it harkens back to a simpler time. One when society's path was still a bit of an open road, although perhaps still even a little too abrasive to feature in earlier cyberpunk media like Blade Runner. I do think it fit in well with the themes of Judge Dredd. Although the softer, more fantastical and laid-back sound of these earlier albums from Run the Jewels does remind me an awful lot about the initial wave of cyberpunk media, with a more sci-fi, fantasy presence developing into the harsher, more industrial and volatile sound of No Save Point and RTJ4, which parallels the transition of the cyberpunk genre, going from slower, awe-encompassing soundscapes to match the visuals of Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, to the more physical, mechanical sound of grittier and more grounded cyberpunk media, like the Mr. Robot series or even the extremely underrated 2018 film Upgrade. Much like the genre of cyberpunk, Run the Jewels have consistently developed and matured, honing their craft and becoming more focused. Although not necessarily drastically, they have transformed their sound, from simply having fun with a couple of mates to providing a global platform to send out an important message, one that often weaves in with the general message of cyberpunk media. Stand up for what you believe in. Don't sit by the wayside and watch your fellow man be sucked dry for all he's got, because you could be next. You're just a number to them, unless you make a change and help shake up the system. As Run the Jewels established themselves as here to stay within RTJ 2 and 3, we experienced a slightly more experimental way from them, Although still heavily relying on electronica, a physical element was certainly implemented from time to time. Arguably containing my favourite tracks from the duo, RTJ 3 felt like the junior and senior years rolled into one, with RTJ 4 acting as their graduation to potentially a new era of their sound. I'd compare this to the more industrial feeling cyberpunk world of The Matrix, where cyberware was becoming a little more accessible, and the future presented within the film and genre was becoming, well, a little more possible. Then we come to Cyberpunk 2077 itself. It feels like a natural amalgamation of every piece of cyberpunk media since its real induction in the 1960s, complemented by the in-game world's music from Samurai, played by Refused, Paul Leonard Morgan's brilliant non-diegetic soundtrack additions, RTJ presented as their characters Yankee and the Brave, and, well, honestly, so much more that it really brings the world of Night City to life. Although Run the Jewels as a duo have only been making music for a decade, in my opinion, they've developed a journey akin to that of cyberpunk's transformation, from the more hypothetical and fantastical feel of RTJ 1 to the very explicit and troubled sounding RTJ 4. I'm very happy to have come along for the ride that ended up opening Cyberpunk 2077's crime montage with no save point.
Night City! Stanley here with you, and we got another day ahead of us in this city of dreams.
The steady change in sound throughout their albums could also signify the shift in the rap music world, with 808 focused trap arguably becoming more popular than ever. However, I still believe that RTJ's message and their journey so far parallels that of the cyberpunk genre, so much so that it benefits tremendously from being included in Cyberpunk 2077.
Great.
Thank you very much for watching. This episode was brought to you by SmartDNS Proxy. If you don't already know, SmartDNS Proxy is a clever DNS and VPN service provider that allows users to access hundreds of sites in a number of different countries. So you may be in the US wanting to watch something on Netflix that's only available in the UK. With SmartDNS Proxy, you can do that with ease. Even with my subpar internet speeds, the service worked well with streaming shows from other nations. So to get a free trial and a 50% discount on your membership afterwards, click the link in the description and head over to smartdnsproxy.com/SDP promo/Stally111. Make sure to go to the link on screen or in the description for 50% off your SmartDNS Proxy membership today. Thanks again guys, my name is Andrew or Stally111. Make sure to drop a like, drop a comment and subscribe if you've not done so already, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.